Yeah, today I was checking a news update on uh, world politics, um, and it's been a while that I've not checked what's been going on in the African Great Lakes, where I was born. Of course, I am very much concerned about generally how politics is moving um, across the globe. The normalization, first of all, of hate speech, but also the radicalization of societies and um, political parties. It seems that slowly society in general has been moving to embrace individual ideologies, new kind of theme in politics that does not do um, fact-checking um, ideologies that follow the trend systems of social media as a political theory. The other most worrying thing is that because of the culture of impunity, we have also seen um, the legitimization of people who have committed serious crimes, um, from crimes of terrorism to crimes of genocide, um, welcomed as mainstream partners in global politics. All of that, I believe, have affected the way we understand generally the concept of the Greek style of governance, of democracy. Why many of us are focused on finding solutions to create jobs, to innovate on health, to innovate in empowering communities, um, underfunded for all that we do. Um, it is quite appalling that those who cause more harm to society and countries and the world in general are given much more attention and support. The recent development in Ethiopia, for example, were the African continent biggest hydro plant, um, will give access to um, millions of Ethiopians. It is unfortunate to also note that in the north of the country, conflict persists. In a country like Burundi in East Africa, where there has been news about um, the shortage of fuel, uh, food prices, and the cost of living going up, um, it is unfortunate that they still are facing the risk of conflict, which for decades has crippled the country's economy. The other alarming trend as well that we are observing is the normalization of modern um, human trafficking. Uh, it's really a slave trade. I think that should be the right terminology that we use. Um, the trafficking of young girls who are trafficked sometimes by smugglers, some other times by forms of MOU signed between governments particularly between African governments and also the Middle East. There is a lack of moral authority and ethical leadership to address most of these issues. And I think that we are not heading towards a greater future of prosperity, of equality for all, where nations are allowed to thrive, where citizens are supported to maximize their potential. I've always believed that if there's a commitment of people and countries and governments, every nation has the potential to thrive. Earlier today, I met a brilliant young person from Botswana who told me about his aspiration when he finishes his education in university. He believes in the future of his homeland country of Botswana. A sentiment that I share as well about, in general, the African continent, but also the country where I was born, Burundi. But the difference is that for Burundi, as I mentioned earlier, there's still issues relating to geopolitics that are sort of slow down the growth of this nation that has great potential, from agriculture to tourism to the energy sector. It can be a hub for the region if we did not have several factors affecting our ability to rise up from poverty and political strife and conflict. Nevertheless, one must never give up on believing in a greater future, at least for the benefit of future generation. I believe that even for the Democratic Republic of Congo, there will come a time when rebel movements are not always justified to make political claims. I believe that this region, if citizens can lay down weapons, if governments can deliver the rule of law, it's a region that could be the most prosperous on the African continent. It has all that they need to prosper and for all citizens to thrive in the region. It is my sincere hope that someday a new era will usher in a new generation of leaders who are tasked to write new chapters for the region. I do not need to get into the details of everything I've read about the region, but as much as it is alarming, we must continue to remain optimistic that issues can be solved just the same way other regions faced conflict. It is unfortunate as well, of course, that on a continent where there was more than 6 million Jews exterminated, that this history has not really served as a lesson for the global community to lay down weapons. There's almost a race for armament globally, from the conflict in Ukraine to the conflict in Sudan to the African Great Lakes. As someone who has lived in conflict and who has been affected by conflict, for 2 decades, we lobbied, we wrote letters, we tried to innovate on ways to silence guns on both sides. It is quite frustrating that after 2 decades, people are still justified, feeling entitled to be justified to promote the culture of violence. But we must continue to hope, just like Dr. Martin Luther King kept hoping in the midst of the greatest challenge of his time. We must believe that one day nations can live without conflict and without the need for aggressive competition against each other, but rather acknowledge that every nation has something to offer and that collaboration must be done in the most respectful way without imposing anything on each other, but rather recognize that we are all complementary with one another. So as a man who believes strongly in the power of resilience, in the power of dialogue, it is my sincere hope that regardless of what is unfolding globally, that we can find some time, maybe someone will inspire us, maybe a new Dr. Martin Luther King can inspire the world to silence the guns and take care of society in general. We live in a world that is hurting badly, but mainstream politics and mainstream media have distracted us to focus on causing harm to one another. Be it race, be it religion, we have lost our moral values. And our faith should have been the foundation to make this world a better place. But if we fail each other, then we cannot expect to propose an ideal that can heal the world. The foundation of our world should always be love. And we should also acknowledge that God created all of us, gave us this planet to live on. As people of faith, we must not give up in praying for a better future. And I hope that each one of us, even when there is chaos around us, that each one of us realizes the power we have to heal our community and to inspire change as well in our community and eventually our world. I thank you.